All right, so belts, and of course, more belts. Now, I have tried a lot of different belts over the years, from time in the military, working security, law enforcement, personal life, all the stuff I like to have. And it ends up, you always have several belts lying around. You kind of look like what's going on behind me with a couple plate carriers and a couple of different belts and a third belt that you're testing because you want to try out some new stuff. Now, the reason you end up having so many different belts is because belt technology changes. Now, think about late 90s, early 2000s. The military, the Army was still using like load bearing, like suspender style equipment that just sucked. They had these little metal clips that like clipped on the belt. It was terrible. And now we've got really cool things like this belt we're gonna talk about today from AWS gear, which is a nice 1.75 inch molle belt, laser cut molle, very strong, way better technology when it comes to belts than that stuff in the late 90s and the early 2000s. And some of the best things about the SMU belt here from AWS gear is it's very compliant, made in the USA, right down the road from the cool guys that hang out at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Shop has been there since 1969, I think it was. So definitely cool that it's an American company and we can support them should you be looking for a new belt or to get into your first battle belt. So let's go ahead and take a good solid up close look at this. We'll explain what this belt has, how it's made, the materials that go in there, and of course talk about the overall price there so you guys know what you're going to be getting into when you start buying some of that nicer gear. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the AWS gear belt system right here, the SMU belt. Good stuff going on here. Velcro everywhere, as you can hear, getting engaged already. But make sure you guys get subscribed to the channel here, turn those notifications on. And if you're into seeing this stuff, give the video a like for all of this USA made, very compliant gear here. So talking about the underbelt first, I chose the 2-inch version. You can get an 1.5 inch or a 2-inch. Pretty traditional nylon inside, Velcro on the outside, little pull tab right here. I wanted the larger one because remember, this is an 1.75 inch belt because it gives you maximum Velcro engagement. And this is going to help support the weight all around your waist. It is very thick, very stiff, very nice. So it is not only going to be for this, but you can use it as kind of like a standalone EDC belt as well. I actually know a lot of people that do that. So let's talk about the overall material that this belt is made out of before we get all the way into kind of how it is designed. So it's an 1.75 inch. It is a tack weave. That's their kind of design of what they do with it. 5,000 pound or 5,000 pound webbing in a tack weave configuration. So that tack weave is, I guess, the kind of proprietary way that they weave this material together. And this stuff is stiff. I mean, it is super stiff. Even on the unsewn end, that's just the leading edge. It's stiff stuff. Obviously, we know we have those massive Cobra buckles, again, US made. This is a D-ring style belt. So for those of you still doing your helo stuff, you want to clip into that helicopter, right there you go. You can go ahead and do that. You cannot rappel from these. Don't attempt that. You don't want to be hanging from these, even though they're strong. Just don't do it. You don't want to be the guy at the bottom of the cliff with your skull cracked open. So as far as the rest of the material, we will get our nice thick bungee retainer right here to keep all that leading edge in there, that tag end of it. And then we get into our molle section right here. So this material is 0.030 and it is a composite material and it is poly coated. And then it is laser cut. So you can kind of see how perfect the cut lines are in there for that molle weaved material in there. It's not even weaved, actually, it's laser cut. It's very cool stuff. I have used it with not only the holster, you can see I've got that Wilder tactical setup on here, but I'm running everything on here as a molle attachment, and that stuff has been holding up just fine. Great thing about molle is it keeps everything exactly where you put it. Bad thing about molle is it keeps everything exactly where you put it if you're trying to slide something around in your belt. So spend some time and make sure you get your belt set up exactly the way you want it. That molle is going to go all the way around and it's going to give you just enough area up front here to make your adjustments so you can adjust it to your waist. And then on the opposite side, it's going to come about 1 inch away from the actual buckle there. Again, you can see I have more Wilder tactical stuff on this side. And the belt is really stiff and it is thick and hard to bend. So we take a good look at the overall thickness of all the materials. So you've got that double webbing, and then on top of that, you have that 030 composite material that makes up that laser cut nylon, and it is stiff. It is super stiff. So this is in the area, stiffness wise, of the thicker Ronin belts, which a lot of people love. These are going to be in that category. Like I said, Berry compliant, all made in the US. Let's talk about the price, the color, and all the other options that you can get with the SMU belt from AWS Gear. All right, so let's talk all of the colors. They've got you in black, they've got you in black and green, they've got you in green, they've got you coyote or tan, multicam. They've got the colors that you are probably looking for, unless you want something like that Mars orange that was hot a couple years ago at SHOT Show. I don't think they're gonna be coming out with that one. But it's a good setup. It's a very good belt. It's nice. I've been wearing this most of the summer out on the range. I'm trying to get it out there and run around with it and use it as much as possible. It has been absolutely solid, which is what I would expect out of something that's made out of like five. And then it's got that nice laser kind of composite molle material, which is great because molle keeps things where you want it to stay on your belt, which is a problem with a lot of other kind of just slick style, like shooting belt style things. Things tend to move around there, especially when you're moving around, having some fun out there, maybe going some cool training. That stuff is going to start moving around, especially your holster. So if there's any way you can lock your holster down, that's the number one thing I would say. That, your tourniquet and your mags, you've got to have those things right where they are supposed to be every single time you go for them. Now the cost on that one is going to be right at 150 bucks. I think it was like 147 and some change. And that's going to come with your choice of either your 2-inch or the 1.5-inch molle belt. I like the 2-inch because it's a little bit bigger than the belt. That way, if you're a little bit off putting the Velcro on, you still get all the Velcro you need, and then you throw a leg strap on your holster, and that thing is going to stay exactly where you want it to. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can add belt keepers, but on a belt like this, belt keepers are kind of a waste of money and a waste of space and effort putting the things on. As far as that $150 price tag, that is going to be really close to a lot of the other really big names out there, especially when you get into the Berry compliant stuff. So again, if you don't know what Berry compliant is where everything is not only sourced, but then made here in the US. That way it can be sold to the military, all that good stuff. So you're supporting Americans all the way from the material being made, all the way to the end item being produced and shipped out to your door, which is definitely cool and something that if $150 for a belt, it's a lot easier to spend $150 on a belt than it is like huge optics and things. So try to support American when you can. At least I do. So this is definitely something that I am cool with, along with the other belts that I've done videos on previously. So if you're in the market setting your first rig up, looking for a next rig, or trying to get out of that big thick padded belt or whatever the heck you're still holding on to, definitely check out AWS Gear. That SMU belt is very cool. Make sure you guys get subbed up, get belled up, turn the notifications down there to all on. Get out there, have some fun on the range. Remember, bring in my favorite, my baby right here, my first SBR, my first Mark 18. Remember, if you guys stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you guys on the next one.